And what I have here are my tuning forks. These are very, very, very special to me. This is something that I will leave on and give to someone else when I'm done. Like these forks are tuned to exact frequencies in the solfeggio scale. This first one here is 174 hertz. So the tops of these tuning forks are going back and forth at 174 times per second. And that's your foundation. This one is 285 hertz. Now the interesting thing about music and these notes, none of these frequencies exist within the normal musical scale today that we use. You can get pretty close to them. This is 396, your root shock, your connection to the ground, to the earth. 417 hertz, which is the ability to facilitate change and transmutation. 528 hertz. This is the frequency of love, frequency of the sun. They say it's frequency of the universe. There are some physicists that have used this frequency to help repair DNA. And it's just a frequency. There's no vitamins, there's no type of chemical or anything. And we're gonna see today how prominent vibration is and how I can make such a bold statement that God is a musician. Some people have said to me, well, you're limiting God by saying he's a musician, that God is everything, and that you cannot, kind of like the Tao, you cannot define something because then it loses what it is. But what I'm saying is that everything in the universe, I'm prepared to show you and prove to you, is music. And that the physical reality and non-physical reality that we experience is 100% the fabric of music and harmony, and that the form takes place because of vibration. And we're going to talk about where does the vibration come from? Where does thought come from? Where does consciousness come from? This one is 852. That was where your left and right hemispheres meet in your brain. It's your intuition. They all mean something. I just started going off and talking, but I was going to tell you. And this is 963. This is your crown chakra and your connection to the divine and the universe. I'm boring my computer. It went to sleep. We'll come back. Okay. So as we look at this first slide here, I thought this was so appropriate because when you look at it, when I first saw it, it looked like a tree line. It didn't even occur to me that other half is a sound frequency showing. And then this tree line is making what it looks like, what the sound wave looks like, with the reflection in the water, the perfect equilibrium. The same with the mountain. And for people that are sound healing is new. Sound healing has been around forever. And one of the most famous sound healers ever was John Lennon. He actually recorded the song Imagine in the key of 528. Now I'm saying that how these notes don't exist inside music today is because the tunings have changed. And whether that's because, there's different theories of why they changed it, but they were saying that they standardized tuning, standardized 440 for the guise of it being that, a musician from here and a musician from here, they can get together and they don't have to worry about tuning. Whereas really, the real tuning of the universe should be 432 hertz. And there's a whole thing on that too. But I wanted to talk about John Lennon for a second because I get a lot of people talking to me about what my thoughts about God are and what my feelings and stuff are. And my background is that I was brought up Roman Catholic, confirmed Roman Catholic. I went to Sunday school, and they did not like me in Sunday school because I was a true doubting Thomas. My name is Tom, and I would ask why. Why? And the answer I always got was faith. And it wasn't enough for me, and I wanted to know more. And it's not that I negated or said that wasn't true, but I wanted to know more. And so I started off my research, and that was really the spark of wanting to know my own personal relationship with God so I can understand it. And John Lennon said, I believe in God, but not as one thing. Not as an old man in the sky. I believe that what people call God is something in all of us. I believe that what Jesus, Muhammad, and Buddha, all the rest said was right. It was just the translations that have gone wrong. And that, the evilness or the greediness or the sin in man can take something so pure and take it into their advantage. And that really to go back and to read and to research what it was really all about and the true essence of it is what we all have to do and go on our own path. So I just want to say, I don't think that I'm absolutely right. I'm not telling you that I know this or that. I'm only wanting to share my experience. And I think that my experience may help shed light into your path and your experience. So if we talk about the universe, and I'm saying God created the universe through music, we got to look at what the properties of the universe are. I picked this picture because it's water that's moving. Water is moving, and it's always moving in this river, and the rocks is going around the rocks, and even the rocks are moving. The rocks should be moving during the winter when the river freezes and it pushes, or it never could. But you think about even what the rocks are, they're never static. There's not one thing in the universe that's static. Everything is moving. The rocks are made up of atoms. The water is made up of atoms. And all atoms are movement. They're basically empty space with these charged vibrations of either negative or positive, and they rotate around each other, and they never stop. They never ever stop moving. Now, Max Planck, he was a Nobel Prize winner for physics, one of the most famous physicists ever. And he was the one that developed the Planck scale, which was the smallest measurement possible, because it's based off of the speed of light. You cannot measure anything smaller than a Planck scale because it's the most quantum smallest measurement, because the speed of light can't be divided any further. So everything in the atomic level, the quantum world, is measured by Planck. So this is an awesome quote that he said, "As a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you as a result of my research about atoms is this much. There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by a virtue of force, which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter." So this is what I want to show, that I think I found the matrix of all matter, and is based upon harmony and sound and vibration. So we look at our Earth. We have a world that's out in the middle of space. You think about how our world is so isolated by space and everything around us. So we can start thinking like our solar system is like we have a sun, which is our nucleus, and we have our Earth that goes around. And in the entire solar system here, it's 99.99% empty space. It's completely empty. Now, the Earth is 75% water, okay? We are 75% water. The Earth has a vibration, has a heartbeat. It's called the Schumann resonance, which is about 8.76 vibrations per second. Now, the thing about the Earth and us is that we're primarily water, and understanding how water goes together and how water forms and what we are. We are water. So with understanding more about water is going to help us understand more about our existence, about our spirituality, and about our minds and our consciousness. Dr. Masaru Emoto was a brilliant man who just recently passed away, but he was the most famous for his book, Hidden Messages in Water. What he did was, he would take water and he would subject it to either anger, thoughts, emotions, love, happiness, music, photos. And every time he did it, with the same thing, the same results happened. When he played it Mozart, he played the music water, he had a water bottle, right? And he would put it in front of a speaker and play Mozart. Then he would take that water and freeze it. And then with microscopes, go down and look at the crystals that it created. And every time it would make a crystal that looked like that. If you look at here, John Lennon's Imagine. Every time it came out there. And then he gave the emotion of love. Peace. Thank you. And this one is the negative emotion. The full thing is, I hate you, I want to kill you. And it doesn't even form anything. And this is just, you don't do anything with the water, you don't put anything into it, you don't actually touch it. It's only emotions and thoughts and feelings that are making this profound effect in water crystals. Now, those last two slides, I blew up. Now, this is part of the Fujiwara Dam in Japan. This is the same exact water. This is the water that was taken. They didn't do anything to it. They didn't say anything. They took it, froze it, took a picture. Then that same water was blessed by a Buddhist monk. They didn't put chlorine in it. They didn't put any sort of cleansing agent whatsoever. The only difference was it was prayed over. Pure emotion of positivity came through into the water, and that's what happened. And now, remind yourself again, you're thinking, you are 75% water. What you tell yourself, what you feel, your emotions directly affect your body. Your sickness inside, these things can be healed, not only with medicine, but with your mind. Because it's amazing evidence and proof. And these are just other examples of a heavy metal song. It's harder to see, but it's just distorted looking. Korean folk songs, Bach, Amazing Grace, Farewell Song by Chopin. Here's all these different examples of how that works. And these are sometimes even photographs of dolphins. Now, of these forks, he did it with these frequencies. And then you can see where the 528 is very close to the same one that they was showing there with the other 528, showing the consistency and the manner of what happens to water. It will repeat itself over and over. There's so many documentaries about water and the plants that are so cool that I wish I could go into now, but what I'm trying to do is really scope this out and give you a real big, strong foundation to stand upon so I can get to my theory about that. Now, this is a water droplet, okay, on top of a speaker. Now, the vibration is creating perfect geometry in the water droplet. It's not, there's nothing other than just sound waves going through it, and sound wave creates form. This is somatics. When you put sound through anything, it's going to move around. You have a plate of sand, you put sound through it, geometric shapes come out of it. It's phenomenal. So you start thinking that, okay, sound and vibration starts creating geometric shapes, which start to create form. So then, okay, now I'm water, but I'm vibrating into this being that I am. What holds it together? And what holds your vibration that holds this together is your DNA. Your DNA is vibrating, and it's vibrating very specifically. And that's why the different cells in your body know to be an eye cell, why certain cells know to be a hair cell or a knee cell. The cells don't think, they just are just moving along with the vibration of your DNA. And this geometry, this is where I started in 2011, I started watching this video about the flower of life. And I thought this pattern is really neat. It's found all over the world. It's perfectly geometrical. And the information inside this pattern is astounding. It doesn't look like much, but this pattern is found in every single region of the world, predates culture, predates religion, predates absolutely everything. No one knows where it comes from. And nobody knows, it is found in every region of the world and is known by the same name, the flower of life. And the one part, this is showing here, it's from in China and Turkey, in Egypt, in Ireland. Leonardo da Vinci was drawing it. The amount of different places over the world are astounding, but the one place here, this is one of the oldest temples in Egypt. This is the Temple of Osiris. And it's dated to be back at least 10,000 years old. And inside this temple is the flower of life ingrained into the granite. Now, it wasn't sketched in. It wasn't drawn in. It was burned in 10,000 years ago. Back when all they had were like copper and ropes to build the pyramids, which that's a whole other story about how those were built. But this doesn't make any sense. How? How do we don't know. And that's just the thing, like the mystery of this pattern being at least 10,000 years old. So there's something behind this pattern. There's something behind it, has a ton of information, and that's what we're going to find out. It's a super simple pattern to draw. You just need one compass or a stick. Like a stick with two things out of it, and you can sit there and make it like a compass. And you start with one circle, you go to the top of that other circle, you draw the same circle. And then you go over here and you connect in right there and draw another circle. Now, creating what this is called, creating the seed of life here, fits exactly in with Genesis. When God said, when God moved across the waters, that was that first circle. When God said, let there be light, those are the two circles. The 7 circles directly match up with Genesis. The seed of life, after 7 days, you have this pattern, which is the basic tessellation pattern. Okay, tessellation is like a tile floor. Okay, you have one tile and another tile, and the tiles will never overlap and there'll never be gaps. So you can continue to make this pattern, and it can go out and out and out into all directions, and it'll go on forever. But when you get to a certain point, there's all of a sudden you can come out with these 13 circles. Now, in these 13 circles is called the fruit of life. The fruit of life is very interesting because when you connect the center of each circle, you get this geometric pattern here, and it's called Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube holds the geometries for the 5 atomic solids. Okay? And I kind of went through that really quickly. All right? Because I'm trying to keep this within the time here. Inside Metatron's cube are these 5 shapes called the atomic solids. The icosahedron has 20 sides. The octahedron has 8 sides. The star tetrahedron, it should be just a tetrahedron, but they show the star tetrahedron for its inverse, which has 4 sides. You have the hexahedron, the cube, which has 6 sides, and the dodecahedron, which has 12 sides. Now, a platonic solid, they all have the same face and the same interior angle, and there's only 5 that exist. Now, the reason why they're called platonic solids is because of Plato. Plato didn't discover these, but he was the first one to use them in his theory of everything. He thought, and Plato is way back, in the 300 BC or so, and he said, well, the tetrahedron was fire, and air was the octahedron, and ether was the dodecahedron, earth was the cube, and the icosahedron was water, and the elements represented this. And he said that everything broke down into these geometries. And scientists for decades and forever since then said, well, that's all just silliness. It's not, it can't be true. And that is until the 1980s. Robert J. Moon created the Moon model. And he demonstrated how the atomic structure of every single element on the periodic table of elements is directly related to one of the 5 atomic solids. So it's Plato, back in the day, was right. That although they're not actually shapes, like these hard shapes, but the way that the atomic structure of atoms and elements are put together are in the shapes of the 5 atomic solids, which is phenomenal. So now you can start to see why they're starting to call this sacred geometry, because it's sacred of how the world and matter is put together on the micro level and the macro level. So this piqued my interest because I'm a music major. And, music is very abstract. Okay, you take music theory, and it's hard. I had a hard time doing it, to actually connect all the dots until finally, one day at school, I'm like, oh, I get it, okay? And it wasn't easy. Music is not an easy thing to do. So I took my knowledge, and so I saw it and said, can you put together music theory and the flower of music, or the flower of life? Can you put those things together? So I sat there, and I started drawing this out. The first thing I wrote in was A. And then I said, well, I'm going to go with the 5th. And the next part I put an E there. And then I put a C, and then I'm like, well, I put a C sharp on the outside. And all of a sudden, this pattern started to unfold in front of me. And I said, whoa, this is really neat. So then I sit there, and I drew out this pattern, and I wrote my name on it, I put the date on it, and I posted it into one of those websites, Spirit Science. And they thought it was really cool and really neat, and I wrote a little thing up for their website and stuff. But what I discovered was this is the pattern. Now, for people that don't know music, it's okay, and I'm going to really explain this to you in the best manner that I can. That you don't need to understand the music theory behind it. It's physics, okay? It's all physics, and this is a little bigger than this is the seed of life of music. I call it the root flower formula because everything grows out of this formula. And the R stands for root. The R can be any note you want to start on. And then the names around it are the different names of the different intervals. So if I were to just shift it, let's just say this is our root, okay? The perfect fifth would sound like this. So that's what it would sound like going straight up. Now if you were going to go straight down, it would be the perfect fourth below the root. The major third, or capital M3, would be your major third. And then you have your minor sixth, which would be below the root. And then you have your major sixth. And your minor third. From those notes and those harmonies, the rest of it keeps tessellating and growing all around. Now, as far as I know, and I've seen, that this is the most concise, compact pattern of music theory that exists. Every single note that has ever been written or played in Western classical music fits inside this pattern. Now, since that one pattern keeps on repeating itself over and over and over, you can create formulas to extract information out of here. If you wanted to play a major chord, you sit and you go up yellow and then green. And you start, let's say anything. You want to make a C major chord, go up yellow, then green. You have C, E, G. And you play your major chord. If you wanted a minor chord, you go up green, then yellow. So it would be C, E flat, G. If you wanted an augmented chord, you would go yellow, yellow, so it would be C, E, G sharp. And then a diminished chord, you go up green, green, C, E flat, G flat. So your four major triads, there's only four triads that exist in music. And then here you have one for root flower formula, or full flower formula. You can figure out any harmony in any key by just following color patterns. And you have chord progressions. You can figure out any chord progression with major, minor, all these things. So you can be a songwriter. You can know anything about music theory. You can use this pattern to create any harmony at all. You can be instantly like, oh, I don't know, I wanted to know what the sharp 11 was in the key of F flat. Okay? You just look where your sharp 11 is from the root. Purple, purple, yellow. Okay? Go to F flat. Purple, purple, yellow. B flat is your sharp 11. So if you sit there looking at chord charts or whatever, so this is the theory side of it. This is what I first had. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to really bring this into the world, and this is going to be my stamp into the world. And I started thinking about more ways how to teach this, and then that's when this unraveled and I figured out that everything has to do with God and music. Now, to understand what music harmony is, Pythagoras, he's the father of Western harmony. He was walking through the village one day, and he heard the blacksmith hitting anvils. And he saw that some of them, or heard that some of them sounded really good together, and some of them didn't sound so good together, so he investigated. But, Pythagoras, being a really smart guy, figured out that when two anvils weighed exactly the same, they made the exact same pitch. When one anvil weighed twice as much as the other anvil, it made the same note, but one octave higher. So now you're starting to come up with these harmonies here. Now, when one is 2/3 of the other, so here's our root. That's a 1-to-1 ratio. Here's a 1-to-2 ratio. And this up on the screen here, this is a 2-to-3 ratio. Okay? So he figured out that the weights of the anvils created different frequencies, and the frequencies of how those anvils worked against each other created different qualities. The different qualities of music make different events and feelings in music. So really, when you're listening to music harmony, You're listening to mathematics. You're listening to how well the number 2 goes into the number 3, or the number 5 into the number 20. You know, the number 5 goes into the number 20 really nicely. It goes into it 4 times. But how well does it go into the number 19 or the number 18? It has a decimal point. It's not perfect. It's not going to go together well. And that's the same thing with music theory. When you have 2 notes with the numbers that are not mathematically fitting, it's going to be dissonant. You know, and just to be clear what dissonance is, you know, that's dissonance. This is harmony. And this is a perfect harmony. And then there's majors and minors and all that's different parts of understanding the different ideas of it. But when you hear music, you're hearing math. You're hearing numbers interact with each other. And how well they interact with each other is the quality of what you hear. This is how the modern guitar neck is intonated. If you actually look at the spacing of the frets on the guitar, it matches up perfectly with the ratios. So from here to here is 1, right? And then you have your 12th fret, which is halfway down. You're dividing it in half, and you're having exactly double that frequency. So you can just see how, from back then, from Plato, from 570 BC till now, we're still using it. The math is timeless, music is timeless, vibration is timeless. How they interact with each other is timeless. So, all right, now this is where it gets a little complicated, because if you don't understand what music and these names, you might get lost, but don't worry. So all of those different ratios in music have a name. They're a minor second, major second, minor third, major third, and I'll just play them all for you. So here's our 1, just our unison. Minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect 4th, augmented 4th, perfect 5th, minor 6th, major 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, octave. Okay? So we can now measure each one of these intervals with a number, because we can count half steps. In half steps, it's just the very next note. So if you're going from C to C, it would be 0. It's unison. It's 0 half steps away from itself. To go up a minor second, it would equal the number 1. So you'd have 1 half step away. If you're going to do a perfect 4th, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half steps away. So now we can simplify all of these harmonies into digits, into single, double digits, or whatever. So if I wanted to express a major 6, I can just say it's 9 half steps away from any root that you start from. Any root you start from, 9 half steps away, you're going to get a quality of a major 6 every time, no matter what. So we'll take a keyboard, okay? So then I started to experiment. Well, let's just make middle C 0, okay? And going to the right, up, we're going to use positive integers, counting the half steps up. And then we're going to count the half steps backwards. But we're going to use negative integers, okay? Now, what happens is when we do this, we take our root flower formula, okay? But then we change it with numbers. We take those qualities of harmony and we replace them with numbers. R becomes 0 because it's 0 half steps from itself. Perfect 5th becomes 7 because it's 7 half steps from the root. The perfect 4th becomes negative 7 because it's 7 half steps below the root. The major 3rd is a 4 because it's 4 half steps up. The minor 3rd is a 3. It's 3 half steps up. Our minor 6 and our major 6 are below the root, 3 half steps and 4 half steps. Okay, so it's like, okay, so what? But it's equilibrium. It equals 0. For every number, there's an equal and opposite number on the other side to cancel itself out back to 0. Okay, so we got, for 3 it's negative 3, 4 it's negative 4, 7 it's negative 7. We're still at 0. So when you expand this and you make it bigger, then you start following patterns. So now it's going 4, 8, 12, 16, negative 4, negative 8, negative 12, negative 16. Same thing here. 3's up, 3's down. 7's up, 7's down. For every number on here, there's an equal and opposite number on the other side, canceling itself back out to 0. It's in perfect equilibrium. So I thought this was neat. So I'm like, okay, so now what? What do I do with this? Where am I going to go with this here? Because obviously there's something, and I need to find out. There's something telling me that there's more to this. So I took this pattern and I started drawing it out on isometric graph paper or 3D graph paper, which is the same grid points as the flower of life. So I drew this out and I'm like, okay, I have an idea. Why don't I start to apply the sacred geometry to it? So I drew the fruit of life on it. I put in my numbers, and you can see right now the circles are all circling numbers that are equal or canceled out on the other side with this equal and opposite number. Then I put in Metatron's cube. I connected the center of each circle. And then I noticed that the lines that I'm connecting are following harmonic series. It's either going up in fifths, or it's going up in thirds, or it's going down in fifths, or down in major sixths, or minor sixths. And I thought this was neat. So then I said, well, I'm going to draw the platonic solids on it. And every single platonic solid, when I draw out the equation, it equals 0. So then I'd say, oh, cool, tetrahedron does this. So what about the hexahedron? Same thing. 4 plus 7 plus 3 plus -4 plus -7 plus -3 equals 0. So I'm like, well, what does this mean? Then I started thinking about how, some people say that nothing really exists, that this is just all an illusion, that there is no table here, there's no floor, there's no anything, it's just all vibration. The vibrations exist, but there's no such thing as matter. There's no such thing as that. So if everything starts off at 0 and expands out, it will always return back to 0. So I did this with all of them, and they all came out to 0. The icosahedron, same thing. Now, this next one here, the dodecahedron, Plato called this ether, our ether, our divinity, our consciousness. And what he was saying is that this is the non-physical, and it has no equation. The grid points don't fall on any numbers, and the dodecahedron is created by the intersecting lines of the other 4 platonic solids. That's how your consciousness exists inside your body without taking up space. This is how geometrically your emotions, your thoughts, your ideas, how we communicate to each other without words, just through our emotions, it's the geometries of it that make it so. I mean, that's how your thoughts don't take any space, because they already can fit inside the matter that's there. So it's almost saying like, this can exist without matter, and it can exist with matter. So because it took me a long time to figure this out, because they don't just have stuff on the internet telling you how to get a dodecahedron. I sat there with things and I drew and drew and drew until I found the certain angle points inside there. And I have a whole thing, but originally my program here was 130 slides, and I made it a lot smaller because people only have so much of a sponge to absorb. I mean, we all have sponges every single day, and at some point we're going to get saturated, and we have to go to sleep, and we have to calm down and unwind and let that sponge kind of like squeeze all that water out. So at some point your head in here is going to get saturated, and it's okay, and if it's we're going to get to that point, and you're still going to hear it. You may not completely understand it, but it's in your head, and it's going to bounce around, and it's going to make sense. Maybe wake up in the middle of the night, oh yeah, that's what he was saying, or we'll see. But the next thing I thought was, well, I'm going to expand this pattern and see what else I can do with it. So I'm like, okay, here's an orange line, and in this orange line, I'm counting by ones. I'm counting by ones to the left, and I'm counting by negative ones to the right. And then I draw my green line. I'm counting by 3s. And then I have my yellow line, which I'm counting by 4s. And our purple line, which counts by 7. Now remind you that these just aren't arbitrary numbers. These numbers represent harmony. They represent music. So these lines are going off in harmonic series. Like, if we're going to sit here and just do fifths, like the purple line, So you're listening to the purple line going up, it sounds like this. So you can just imagine when let's just say, music is creating form. You know, that's how maybe the top part of the tetrahedron is being formed. And you just have to remember, just because you can't hear it doesn't mean it's not music. Super duper megahertz, and it's still that ratio, it still works that same way. It doesn't matter if you can't hear it or not. I mean, if you look at, you know, this piece of wood right here, this piece of wood is vibrating either really, really, really slow, or it's really, really fast. I don't know, I can't hear it, but I can see it. And it's like your eyes or your ears for frequencies that are either really, really fast or really, really slow that create matter that we can understand and see and compute in our brains. And you have to think too that, you know, where your cortex is, that you see from, your optical cortex is in the back of your head that is completely enclosed and is dark. All your eyes are cameras, and it absorbs information, it gets sent into the brain decodes it into whatever this movie screen of life that we see. Where are we actually seeing it? Because we're not seeing it here, because this is just eyes, it's just a camera. It's going back here. There's just so much that we don't know. And that's part of why I do what I do. I just want to know. I want to know. And I have, what is it? So then you can count by tens. You can count by 11s. Virtually you can count by any multiple. And no matter where you go on here, let's say you wanted to count by 31s. You draw a straight line to 0, it will not intersect any other line until you hit its equal and opposite number on the other side. I just didn't draw a straight line. So here's your 31, straight line to 31. Any number. I think that's really neat. How can it not intersect anything? And so it's searching and it's on like a honing device to its equal and opposite other side. Equilibrium. And then you have, and equilibrium is everywhere. So then I started noticing that the zero started to repeat itself. Okay, I'm going to put this slide here. I put circles around it. And the same formula repeated itself. We have what's 4, 7, 3, 3, negative 3, negative 7, negative 4. Same thing here. It repeated itself. So then I drew a line to connect those zeros. Now that's the line of pure equilibrium. And if you think about it, everything in nature is equilibrium. Your body, I mean, your right side is a little bit different than your left side, but you still have 5 fingers, 5 fingers. For the most part, the majority of human beings are in perfect equilibrium. Everything in nature is in equilibrium. And I pulled up this picture of the symmetry of nature. If you look at it in leaves, you look at it at the head of a lion, you look at this butterfly. And so I'm thinking that this matrix of numbers, of harmony, of equilibrium has to do with the way nature is formed and created and put together. When you take that zero line and you wrap it around itself and you match it up, all these lines match up, creating helixes going up. And the slope of the helixes going up depend on what harmonic series that you're doing. If you're counting up by half steps, the orange line is a very, flat slope. If you're counting up by major thirds or minor thirds, you have more of a sharp slope and it's going up. And they match up. 24, 27, this is where the paper comes. 30, 33, 40, 44, 48. So now we have helixes. Now we have equations of helixes. And what do we know about helixes? That's how our DNA is formed, in a helix. So quite potentially, this equation is showing you what the equation and slope of what DNA is, and the vibration of it. Now, I'm sure you both recognize these two guys, Einstein and Edison. And they both said that the mind is a transmitter and receiver of frequency. The brain is constantly communicating with other brains. It is constantly sending out frequencies out, and it is constantly receiving frequencies. When you're around somebody and you say, oh, I kind of got a bad vibe from that person, I mean, that's literal. You literally are in disharmony with that person and their emotions and their feelings. You can feel that in your heart. You can feel that in your body. You can feel that in your mind. And you can feel that in your intuition. So they say that your brain is sending out frequencies all the time. Now, this is where I'm going to say that every single one of you is a musician in here. Because every single one of you is singing and creating music with your brain at all times. And that's one of the secrets of the universe, or secrets of whatever, that you are producing music. And that whatever you produce with your brain is, and you're sending out there, God is the master composer. He's the master orchestrator, conductor. And when you're out making music with your brain, and you're out there, He is noticing, and his goal is harmony. Now, it doesn't matter, mind you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be good harmony. It could be dissonant harmony. You could be thinking about sickness. You could be thinking about, oh, I'm going to lose my job. You could be thinking about, oh, I'm really upset about this or that. And what's going to happen is more situations and events and people are going to come into your life that are going to be in harmony with what you're doing. Harmony doesn't always have to sound good. But if you can, the wonderful point about this story is that you have complete control over your brain. You can choose your thoughts. The two things you have control over in life is what you do to your body and what you think about. If you can choose what you think about, then you can really control and almost can come to expect what's going to happen in your life. Because God is tuning the universe constantly. And I think that this is, a lot of people talk about why praying works, and why different things like law of attraction work, or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. It all follows the same principles and rules. And the principles and rules is that you are communicating to the universe. You're communicating to the divine. You're communicating to God. And you're communicating all the time. I write letters to God, and I sit there and write where it's very direct, and then sometimes I just sit there and talk to him, and then there's sometimes I don't talk to him for a long time. And then I talk to him every day. But the thing is, whether you're conscious or not, you're always communicating. Always. And the more that you're conscious of that, the more that you're going to be able to tune your life into the direction that you want to have happen, whether it's more, health, happiness, or wealth, or whatever it is that you want. It's just that tuning of the brain. And the universe is so big and vast. And your brains are communicating with all of everything all the time. In reality, that we really all are one. And that we're different droplets of water out of an ocean having different experiences. And looking at inward for ourselves to resolve our differences and our problems or adversities or whatever, rather than going out into the world and trying to figure out and fix everything else out there. But really, it's the inside of who you are and what you're vibrating, which creates the world around you. And they say that the world is a projection or a mirror of what you are. So instead of trying to go out and change everything out in the world and stuff, it's looking inward and what you're thinking and feeling what is truly going to make differences in your life. Now, knowing and hearing all of this about vibration and feeling and emotions and our bodies and the way our bodies work, and that there's energy field. Our bodies are the most complex music system, our computer system that there is. You think about a computer. What happens when you drop a computer from really high up from the ground, hits the ground? Computer's dead. What happens when the computer's not working very well that day? You might have a virus or something. You have to get it cleaned up. What happens if the computer is, it's not working well? You might shut it down and start it up again. Put it down to sleep, wake it up again. You put the computer in water, and you leave it there for too long, sometimes you throw it in a bag of rice or something, but it drowns. We are a computer system. We're all based off electrical impulses to the brain that decodes it into our reality. So it makes sense, in something that is electrical has grid points, it has center points in our bodies, and we call them chakras. And depending on how we feel and how we're going, the blockages and energy and sickness, it could be something in one of our energy portals that's going from our root to the top of our head that could be blocked. And when all of these channels are working properly, that's when you're at your optimal health, optimal everything. Feeling, emotions. And what I'm going to do today is we're going to go through a meditation where I'm going to utilize these tuning forks, these frequencies. And these frequencies I have recorded on my phone as sine waves. And the sine wave is exactly the same frequency, the tone, our waveform that these forks make. And what I have on my keyboard is I can change the master tuning of A so I can make certain chords or notes on the piano be exactly these frequencies. And these are the frequencies we're going to go through today. We're not going to be doing 174 or 285 because those are below the body. I'm just working right on the body now. We're going to be going through 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, 852, and 963. And if you're good with numbers, you can see that all these numbers are inverses of each other. 174, you move the number over 1, and then 741, move it again, then it's 417. So it's quite interesting, all these patterns. So now at this point, I'm going to do the meditation. We're going to do the sound healing. I chose the rainbow because it shows all the different colors that represent the different chakras, and also that we are beings of light, and we represent these colors too. So I guess it's a visual thing, but also imagine you being a rainbow and you being colors. First thing I want you to do is get comfortable in your chair. Where your shoulders are back and relaxed. Place your hands comfortably on your lap and have both feet flat on the floor. As you settle in, feel free to move around and adjust yourself to find the right position you feel most comfortable. Now, if you haven't already, begin to gently close your eyes. Breathe in through your nose and fill your lungs to about 85%. Now hold it and gently and slowly exhale through your mouth. Again, breathe in through your nose and hold. And gently and slowly exhale through your mouth. One more time, in through the nose, and out through the mouth. Now imagine a beautiful white light floating above your head. Now this light is going to pour all over your body, starting at the top of your head. It feels cooling, refreshing, and imagine it flowing over and into your body. Cooling and relaxing, releasing all stress and anxiety with pure white light. Imagine it completely covering your body, inside and out. Now invite the color red to your root chakra, right at the base of your spine. Visualize the most beautiful shade of red, like that of red roses and ripe cherries, covering and emanating through your root chakra, and breathe deeply, feeling grounded to the here and now. Say in your mind, I am here, I belong here, Mother Nature provides my sustenance. Invite the color orange to your sacral chakra, right below your navel. Visualize breathtaking orange of the setting sun and breathe deeply, letting this color to cover and emanate from your navel. This is the center of your emotional intelligence, creativity, and pleasure. Now say in your mind, I allow myself to be nourished. I allow my needs to be met. Now invite the color yellow to your solar plexus, which is right below your sternum. Visualize the lovely yellow that is seen in a field of sunflowers, glistening in the sunlight. Letting this color yellow to cover and emanate from your solar plexus. This is the center of your personal power and drive. Now say in your mind, I love myself. I am enough. I have the power to create anything in my lifetime. Invite the color green to your heart chakra, which is in the center of your chest. Visualize the comforting color green of a summer meadow, teeming with life. Breathe deeply, letting this color green to cover and emanate from your heart chakra. This is the center of your personal development, unconditional love in all relationships. Now in your mind, say, my love is unconditional. I allow myself to be loved. I have an unlimited amount of love to give and receive. invite the color blue to your throat chakra, which is in the center of your neck. Visualize the color blue, the deep blue of the sky on a perfect day in the afternoon. Breathe deeply, letting this color blue to cover and emanate from your throat chakra. This is the center of your expression and communication. Now, in your mind, say, I speak freely of what I hold true in my heart, and I allow myself to understand others' points of view. Now invite the color indigo to your brow chakra, which is right above and between your eyes, also known as the third eye. Visualize the color indigo of the twilight sky after the sun has set, but before the night has fully taken over. Breathe deeply, letting this color of indigo to cover and emanate from your third eye. This is the center of your intuition and the connection of the right and left hemispheres of the brain. Now say in your mind, I nurture, listen to, and trust my intuition. My brain works in perfect harmony. Now invite the color purple to your crown chakra, which is at the top of your head. Visualize the color purple of a stunning field of lavender. Breathe deeply, letting this color purple to cover and emanate from your crown chakra. This is your connection to infinite wisdom, the divine, and God. Now say in your mind, I am connected to the universe in every way. The Spirit of God is within me. Now hold the intention of your chakras closing down just a little. Become aware of how you feel and the peace that resonates inside of you. Hold yourself in loving kindness for the beautiful, unique being that you are. We will now close this meditation with a grounding and healing prayer. Spirit, superconsciousness, please locate the origin of our feelings, thoughts of any illness or emotional pain. Take each and every level, layer, and area of my aspect of my being to this origin. Analyze it and resolve it perfectly with God's truth. Come through all generations of time and eternity, healing every incident and its appendages based upon the origin. Please do it accordingly to God's will until I'm at the present, filled with light and truth, God's peace and love, forgiveness of myself for my incorrect perceptions, forgiveness of every person, place, circumstance, and events which contributed to these feelings and thoughts. You are loved, and you are never alone. Slowly come out of this meditation at your own time. Thank you. I love you. And may God be with you.